Hello and welcome to Loved Film. My name is Jamie and thanks for tuning in. We have one hell of a show for you today. We have the creators of the new short film called Room Taken. Now this film is great, okay? We have executive producer Colin Farrell. We have director TJ O'Grady Peyton. We have the star of the movie. His name is Gabriel Adewusi. We have the writer, which is Michael Whelan, and we have the producer Colmán MacCionnaith. So, we have a lot to talk about. If you haven't seen this film, it's great. It's actually a really interesting idea. So basically, this guy, he's an immigrant in Dublin. He has nowhere to go. He can't stay anywhere. He can't get a room. So he finds this blind lady, played by Bríd Brennan, and he just starts following her around, and he realizes that she can't see him at all. So when she goes home, he decides to just stroll into the house, and he just kind of lives there. So I'm looking forward to talking to the guys about this. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Strange things have been happening. Like, I've been hearing weird noises.
No, I don't think so, madam.
Vicky, it's not uncommon for someone in your situation to hallucinate. It's one of the ways that losing your sight can play tricks on you.
Now, don't you be saying that I'm away with the fairies.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here at Loved Film. The Room Taken is a brilliant short film. Myself and the team had a look at it. I saw it for the second time last night, and it's inspired filmmaking. It's a brilliant story. As someone from Dublin myself, after watching the film, I was just like, wow, it's a new perspective. As you guys know, like Irish and stuff, like the homeless crisis, for a political idea in sort of an apolitical story, it was fascinating to me, and I just loved it. So guys, thanks so much for making it. We have Gabriel Adewusi, TJ O'Grady Peyton, and Colmán MacCionnaith. I'd say the first way to start talking about the film, I'd just be curious, say, where did the origin start? Maybe TJ, did you look for a script coming around? Did Michael approach you? Did you know him? If you could talk a bit about that.
Well, yeah, thanks very much for the kind words, and delighted to be chatting with you today. Yeah, I was looking for a script for a while. I'd made a few shorts in the past, but I always wanted to try and make something with Screen Ireland, with their focus scheme. It was like a short film scheme that used to be called Signatures, and I remember one year in the Galway Film Flat, like a good 12 years ago, I saw, I think it was John Butler's short film, which was called The Ballad of Kid Can Turk. And he's obviously gone on to make loads of feature films, have been very successful. But I remember just seeing that scheme and how epic and big a production value those shorts felt and they looked like. So I wanted to make one, and I had tried for years, about 10 years, and I got shortlisted twice and had the meetings and never, got the green light, so to speak. So eventually this script came around, having worked with Michael Whelan on a commercial, because he works in advertising as well. And we got chatting and brought it to Colmán at Vico Films, and we were able to get the funding. So it was a great kind of journey to get the film made, and now to see it released has been awesome.
Yeah, and for a short film as well, with short films, as you guys know better than me, it's all about like sort of making such a big impact in such a shorter time. So I think the way you did it was just so delicate, in the way that you're not giving this huge message, but you're getting so much emotion. Gabriel, your character, and Bríd Brennan's character, they're from very different walks of life, and just seeing them together, to me anyway, it was a really interesting story. And Gabriel, what drew you to the project? As in, did you find a script or something like that? Did you relate to it in any way? I heard maybe in another interview you said that your family originally came from Nigeria. So did you have talked to, say, your parents about that, maybe their experiences?
Oh yeah, like there's questions. There's kind of always that process of, doing the digging and finding it within yourself, but it wasn't that tough in this particular case, like I said, because a lot of it is there already. It's an experience that that I'm aware of, that I know people who are aware of, that I'm related to people who are aware of. So it wasn't that tough to find. I read it, and I say this all the time, but you sort of just know when it's a character that you can connect to, and you sort of just know when the themes are meaningful. You sort of just know when it's saying something that you think needs to be said. So when I got that script, it was kind of just go time for me, man. I threw a lot into prepping it, with friends of mine as well, who were kind enough to do things like lend me their sleeping bags and, lend me their time to workshop the scene with me, all sorts of things like that. So yeah, it wasn't a difficult thing to sort of immediately connect to, because again, it's such a human story, it's such a human experience, and it's something that, I felt really close to from get-go.
I think you did a fantastic job, man. I mean, fair play to you. The performance to me was just phenomenal. I mean, the way you were able to deliver so much emotion with being such a silent character was really, really interesting, because for the majority of the film, you have to not make a peep. You have to be so quiet, like especially the scene where you're just trying to clean yourself in the bath, and Victoria comes up and she's just looking for something in the bathroom. Just the silence of it, but I could feel like the fear coming from your performance. So I mean, it was brilliant, man. Fair play to you. Basically, just a general question for all of you guys. Again, Dublin, Ireland, as well. I mean, are you guys all from Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how it is. I mean, Dublin is such a weird place now. I mean, it's changing all the time. How did you guys sort of approach dealing with this setting? As I was saying, it's apolitical. I mean, you're not really trying to shout a message at people, but you're dealing with such a gigantic political issue in Ireland. I mean, what was the origin of that?
Coleman, you haven't spoke yet. Do you want to answer?
Yeah.
He gets the good one.
Yeah. I think
hard
myself and TJ, the setting we really wanted to get right, because I do think that if you walk around Dublin City now, and especially 2 years ago and last year, there really is an awful lot of homelessness in Dublin at the moment, and to fully get that sense across, I don't think you can actually, like, you might not be able to do that in a town or another town around Ireland. So I think, like, TJ especially was going on location recce's all over the city, trying to find the house, trying to find different corners that we could shoot in that gave it that scope and that feeling and that atmosphere that I think really comes across in the film. And then, I mean, it turned out that we really ended up just shooting it in quite a small area. We didn't have to travel a lot around. We were shooting in a cafe near Capel Street, and then around the corner near the fruit markets, and then we went down the road for the exterior of the house. Like, it really all of a sudden felt like we were in this really small pocket that told so much.
On the subject of it being like a Dublin story, like the character of Bridge's character, Victoria, was written far more like, of a dub, and she's from Belfast. And we kind of changed things around and just made her like a general sort of Irish person, not very kind of like distinctive in terms of a specific part of the country. And we also wanted the whole film to kind of feel, I guess, a little bit of a fairy tale, but also have this universal sort of thing that people all over the world could relate to if you're experiencing similar things in your city or country and stuff. So although we wanted to be relatable and feel authentic, we also wanted it to kind of, not be so specific that like it felt like a certain street or a certain area. We wanted it to have a universal feel as well,
Big time, and even in what you were saying with that I would have guessed, Coleman, that you guys filmed that near Capel Street in that cafe. It generally looked as it could have been anywhere in Ireland, especially what you were saying with Breed as well. As in, I felt like I knew her from somewhere. I was like, I feel like maybe I'm just relating to somebody in my life that was similar. So I really admire the way you guys did that. And TJ, maybe more generally for you as well. Do you use this form of filmmaking as a tool for like your own self-expression? Do you communicate how you feel about things through films? Because I felt so much emotion from this film, man. It was crazy. Like,
I think in a weird way, like from my experience, I've only made like shorts, but I've made a good few over the years and stuff, and I made like ads. But like in terms of, expressing yourself, when there are certain elements of a story that you connect with on a personal level, I think it comes across and you have more passion for the story. And I was actually speaking to Jim Sheridan about this, and he was saying how for him, he needs to find a way in. And you always hear in interviews of like, very famous filmmakers talking about it, and sometimes you don't realize it until maybe later. It's not always something that you can articulate immediately. Like hindsight can help you figure stuff out too. Like I know Spielberg spoke about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and there was connections to his parents in that story that he didn't realize when he was making it. But yeah, I had connection to the theme of grief. My father passed away, and so did Michael, the writer's brother. So that kind of was like my way in. And now trying to develop features and stuff, I'm always thinking about what is that connection I have. I think it's nice to have a personal connection, but at the end of the day, it's also about just finding great scripts. And this was a really good story and a really good script, and it had a lot going on. So yeah, it was a combination of things.
yeah, of course. And sorry about the personal loss. I mean, I'm thankful for the film, though. It's for me anyway, dealing with similar things in life. It's such a positive message. It's really bringing in like when you start watching the film, it's real like, oh, is Victoria gonna kick him out? Is this gonna be a really bad ending? But it's just so nice. It's great. Thanks for that. So in terms of general filmmaking, you guys have a lot of positive feedback from this film straight away. I mean, I think you were nominated for something like 50 awards. You've won 17 of them. I mean, how does it feel that you guys are getting that
40. I
positive?
won 40.
40 now? Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, I must have looked at an old fact. I mean, you must be just
We have
blown
an
up.
old press notes we haven't updated, which it said 17 in our old press notes, but yeah, we've
40 awards. Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible. How does it feel that I have that type of positive backing?
Who's up?
Who's up? Anybody?
It is incredibly validating, man.
Yeah,
It's
you don't get
incredibly,
used to it.
incredible.
Every now and then.
You really don't. It's still so surprising every time like something new pops up. You walk up and like, another, okay,
Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
Especially for me, personally, because being in it, it's always hard to watch yourself, and like in a way that's kind of our job. You got to get used to it, but like it's not something that happens immediately. It takes a while for you to be able to like look at something that you've made or look at yourself in something and see past what you're doing and just see the thing. So a lot of that is really encouraging before you reach the point where you can like clear your eyes and watch the film properly and have that moment where you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is sick. So a lot of that is really helpful to keep you kind of floating and keep you kind of aware. Although dangerous, unfortunately, because if it goes in the other direction, it's a little bit scary. Because if you believe the good, you have to believe the bad. So you always kind of have to have
Yeah.
have a
You
balance.
find reviews online like that kind of you'll get half a star review from one person and a 5-star review
Yeah.
from another person. So you're kind of kept in check.
That's
But like it's interesting when you see the audience and different responses. But we've won like a good few audience awards, which has been amazing. And I feel like the film plays well in a group setting. But also a lot of people like from the crew and the cast have got specific awards for their work, whether it's the actors getting specific awards, the cinematographer, Evan Barry, our production designer, and there's been a lot of accolades and awards for specific work from different people, which is cool as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's well deserved as well. I mean, Gabriel, even you're saying as in it can help when you put your heart into something and people are giving you the positivity, but you did a fantastic job. All of you did. It's a great film. So, I mean, look, I even saw 17 jump to 40 in a couple of weeks. So that's incredible. This is badass.
Been a few months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's wild.
I wouldn't be surprised
The
if it's going
Irish
to
Film and
get.
Television Awards coming up actually now in like 11 days. So that's a big one. But
it's in
there's a lot
11 days. Oh,
Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah,
cool
that's not
films in
good.
the category, but it should be a
Jesus.
fun night, even just being nominated is cool because that's sort of like the highlight of the awards in the Irish sort of calendar, and a lot of great talent are going to be there. So it'll be a fun night.
Oh, of course, and I'd say you'd smash it, guys. I mean, in terms of the film as well, you had Colin Farrell come in as an executive producer towards the end of getting it out there and stuff like that. How did that happen? Isn't that just, does Colin watch the film? Did he just relate to him? He want to be involved? What's the origin of that?
Because we were sort of in the race to sort of get shortlisted for the Academy Awards. We were advised that to have sort of a spokesperson or somebody with more of an audience, if you can bring somebody like that on board, it can be really helpful for the campaign. And we sort of sat down and we're like, right, who's the top 5 people that we want to reach out to, and number 1 on the list was Colin Farrell. And we were like, okay, well, let's aim as high as we can. And we reached out to everybody. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. Come on, let's find them.
Yeah.
But we sort of got in touch. We ended up getting in touch with his sister, who is his manager, and I think she was one of the producers on The Penguin and stuff. But we managed to get her email address, and she
from his
didn't
brother.
tell.
We got in touch with his brother first, and then his sister. So we were a
Yeah.
whole like family kind of. We got a few ins.
But
How
nobody
incredibly Irish, by the way.
Yeah.
Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody.
But nobody ever told us, no, he wouldn't be interested in this. This is a weird pipe dream that you guys have. And we just kept on getting passed up the
But
ranks.
they all liked
and
the film. Like his
they
bro had
all
seen
liked the
it,
film.
and he'd
and-
heard about it because he works in the arts, and it won the Dublin Film Festival. So he was kind of aware of it. So in a weird way, he felt comfortable sharing it with Claudine, the sister, and his assistant and stuff. So yeah, we were fortunate to have won a few awards by the time that conversation was happening, that it was like something worth entertaining.
Of course, and I mean, Colin, I heard him speaking about the film. He genuinely loves it as well. I mean, you can tell that it hit him in a personal spot, so I mean, that must feel great. I saw as well Michael D. Higgins shouted out the film too.
That's crazy.
That's the most Irish thing of all time. Michael D. Higgins.
It almost felt like it was parody, like we were taking the piss. When you know what I mean? Like people, I was getting DMs on Instagram where people were just like, "You are taking the piss." Like,
You did it. That's the peak of Irish success, isn't it?
yeah, it's so funny. Like no stone unturned,
Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, he said some wonderful things about sort of the film in general, as well as our film, but that was kind of
Yeah, he's like, obviously, like, I think he set up the film board, Screen Ireland, back in the day when he was the Minister of Culture. He was, one of the people to set up Screen Ireland, which is like how most filmmakers survive in the country. You know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy. That full circle
Don't
moment.
quote me on
he's-
that, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. I've heard that. Yeah.
This is an interview though, TJ, so he
Yeah.
Correct fact about
You can
President
edit it out,
Higgins. Yeah, of course.
No,
Michael
but
D.
I'm pretty
Higgins
sure I'm
will
going to
give us
check that
another
now.
shout out to correct the record.
Yeah, he'll be on the next podcast.
Yeah.
Well, guys, in terms of filmmaking in Ireland as well, we interview a lot of young Irish filmmakers too, and I mean, they have lots of questions that perhaps you guys would have the answer to straight away. I mean, getting a movie into a festival, just generally speaking, how does someone start about doing that? They make a short film, it's something similar length to Room Taken.
Well, I feel like TJ's not going to like this, but I'm going to pass that over to TJ because he really spearheaded the festival campaign.
Well, I think, like there's lots of things you can do. I think it's when you're starting out your career, you just have to do what you can to get it, seen by programmers. But like the most obvious and straightforward way is just to set up your film freeway page, which is where most festival submissions happen. And then you have to make sure that your page is professional, so that you've got ideally a piece of artwork like a poster to show the film, and it doesn't look too amateur, student-ish. And then you have a good synopsis, which kind of like, makes the film sound interesting. And then you've got your bio, maybe a couple stills, maybe a trailer. Do you know what I mean? Because you want to just make that page for the people who are watching your film, like kind of feel like it's, you know, it's like not too amateur. It's something worth, you know, investing their time in, because I don't know if they watch the entire films, but at the end of the day, it is going to be the film will determine whether you get in or not. Some people will reach out to programmers as well if they get their emails to introduce the project. Sometimes people might even do that looking for discount codes, where you might get like a discount from programmers if you've, you know, maxed out your budget for festival entries and stuff. So like, no harm asking, but like you gotta be, you know, polite and professional with all those sort of like, you know, pursuits. But yeah, the main way would be going through Film Freeway, and it's trial and error. Do you know what I mean? Like you got to be realistic. Every year I've made about 7 shorts, and I've sent them all to Sundance, but never got in. They take -1%. It's like 0.5%. It's something crazy. It's astronomical, you know? So I would, if you're Irish, I would target all the Irish festivals to try and build up that sort of like, I guess, community, and then maybe go international if you feel it's good enough. But like, definitely, if you're starting out at the very beginning of your journey, definitely try and get them into the Irish festivals, because you have a good chance of getting that support, you know?
When you
Nice.
get
Yeah,
into the
actually,
Irish festivals, attend.
Yeah.
Like really, to attend the festivals, even if you're not screening, but if you're when you're screening at them, attend, because you meet so many other filmmakers. You might meet you know, a programmer of another festival. You might, and they might have, you know, they might see your film at the program there, and just to meet people, because everybody, the short film community in Ireland is really wants everybody to succeed. So it can be really beneficial to dive into it.
Yeah. And there's obviously big festivals in Ireland which are Oscar qualifiers, you know, and if you win one of those, you get in the long list. So that's the dream. You can go to Galway, Cork, Foyle. But then obviously Dublin is a great festival. It's not Oscar qualified. But then there's another like whole range of regional film festivals that are great. Like Fastnet has like cash prizes. So if you win something there, you can get like, you know, a nice cash prize. And then, you know, there's Boyne Valley, and there's, you know, like a huge range of local Irish festivals that's worth sending to all of them. And they're a bit of crack too, where you get to meet people like Colin saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's stellar advice, lads. I mean, I feel like anyone who wants to get their film into a festival, I mean, this is perfect way to start. So thanks for that. Usually when we're going towards the end of an interview here, we typically ask, say, a director or writer what advice they'd give to someone starting out in general, but it's not often that we have an actor. So Gabriel, I'm going to throw the question to you, sir, if you wouldn't mind. What advice would you give to young actors starting out?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a there's so many things you could say, right? I mean, I still consider myself a young actor starting out, if I'm being 100% honest. So maybe the advice the advice I give myself slightly younger, maybe, is first of all doing what Colmán says, right? And it's advice that I'm actually trying to follow right now, is make your own luck. And I think you make your own luck by giving yourself as many opportunities to connect with people and interact with things as possible, particularly within your medium. Watch films. If you like films, reach out to the people who make the films, say you like their films, try and meet them, enjoy them. Basically, engage with your medium as much as you possibly can. There's a million other things, but everything else is practical. Like, you know, do your training, whatever else. Like you get that. And if you don't do your training, then work on it yourself. You know, if you're not gonna if you're not gonna go to school, find an opportunity to be on stage, find an opportunity to be on screen. But that's all practical stuff. In terms of the actual sort of forward momentum of your career and enjoying it, I think you got to make your own luck. And I think you do that by trying as hard as you can to connect with people in many contexts, like what Colmán just said. So I don't know. I guess that's my advice, or at least that's what I'm doing right now.
That's great advice. It's great advice. And I feel like, again, anyone starting out would really help them. Now, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me so early in the morning to talk about the film. It's been a pleasure to chat to you. I love the film personally. I think it anyone watching it, it hits them in a place that maybe they wouldn't expect, and I feel like it hits people very different, and it's a very important film in terms of just the way the world's going, especially living in Dublin myself. I see this every day. It's opening new ideas in people's heads, and they're positive ideas. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you guys kicking ass, getting more awards in the next couple of months and stuff like that. And good luck with the Film and Television Awards. So thanks again, guys. Gabriel, TJ, Colmán, been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Jamie.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good evening.
Okay, see you guys. Thank you. Wow, what an interview. I mean, those dudes, they were just sound. I love what they're doing, you know? I mean, sometimes you get a short film where it's just genuinely just, because they have such little time, they're like, let's make a big message as best as we can in as short a time as we can. But that's not Room Taken. Room Taken is just genuinely good. They made me feel stuff, you know? So yeah, it was a great interview. Colmán was super interesting about all the film festival advice, especially if you're starting out. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to go to any specific parts of the interview, if you go onto the timeline here, you can see all of the little chapter marks and stuff like that. I mean, it was a pleasure to talk to those dudes. I mean, they're the type of filmmakers I want to see making new stuff. Anyway, next week I'll see you again. Adios.